Hello everyone. So I recently completed the John Muir Trail with some friends, and after doing the trail, of course it was an incredible experience, but I was really fascinated by how that entire trail was created. And I really wanted to understand the terrain that we were going through because when you're on the trail you really do not get that macro view. I wanted to get a bird's eye view to understand what kind of terrain we were going through, how the trail was constructed through all the meadows and mountains and streams and so on in the valleys. So I was trying to understand how to see that information, and I realized after some experimentation that I could do that in Google Earth. So what I did was I loaded all of my information in Google Earth. It took me a little bit of effort to figure out how to do it, but let me show you what I was able to achieve. So here we are. This is the entire JMT trail, and it's color coded to show the route we took every day. We went from Yosemite Valley, Happy Isles, all the way to Mount Whitney, and we also did a detour to Half Dome in the process. Okay, so let's start by looking at the first day and what does that terrain look like. So here you can see this is what the first day looked like. We started from Happy Isles and then we went up to Little Yosemite Valley, and from there we went to Half Dome and then back to Little Yosemite Valley to camp. But you can really see how that entire trail has been created when you climb Half Dome, exactly how you climb it. This is a quarter dome, and then you do the cables and you get to the top. Okay, and so that was the first day. The second day, then from Little Yosemite Valley, we went to the Sunrise Meadows. So that's this area right here, and this is where we camped. And from Sunrise Meadows, we went to Tuolumne Meadows, which is right here. So you can see what that entire terrain looks like again. And let's continue down. From Tuolumne Meadows, we went to Upper Lyle Canyon. So this is day 4, and you can see how the trail is going through the valley. Now, when you're on the trail of course is very hard and it's very demanding. But when you look at it from this perspective, you can see the trail engineers have done a fantastic job of finding the best route to cross all these mountains. They've in fact figured out the easiest path that you can take to cross this terrain. I mean, look at this, right? So you can see that how they've created all these switchbacks. They've figured out the best possible way to cross these things. This is Donovan Pass. It doesn't look as bad when you look at it from this perspective, does it? um, all right, so from here you can continue on crossing Donovan Pass, and this is where you can see those beautiful lakes, the Thousand Island Lake, the Garnet Lake, which you'll probably remember. And then this is where we camped. This is a Shadow Creek Junction. This is where we camped. I believe this was day 5. And then we continue on. Let's take a look at that. So this is another climb, and you can see all the switchbacks here. But again, you can see that those switchbacks are taking us to the lowest point, right? There's a little valley here, and it's taking us through that. It's not taking us on top of the mountain, right? So from here, from Shadow Lakes, of course, we went to Red Meadows. So Red Meadows is right here. We actually had booked cabins here, and this was one day of luxury where we actually got good food and we were able to sleep in proper beds. And those of you who have done the JMT trail, you've probably done the same at Red Meadows, and that really was a good break from all the backpacking food that we were eating so far. And from here we went to Purple Lake. So this is the Duck Pass, and again, let me actually zoom in here a little bit and show you the 3D view, which is going to be pretty fascinating. And this is where you can really start appreciating the work that trail engineers have done. And this trail was completed in what, 1938, and I'm sure they did not have Google Earth back then. So how did they figure out where to create this trail and what the best possible path was? I mean, I'm just really impressed by the work these guys have done. This is just amazing. So again, you can see that this is going through the valley as much as possible, and whenever it does go through a mountain, those mountain passes have been constructed really carefully to find the lowest possible point where we can cross those mountains, right? So again, you can continue down this terrain here, and you can see how the trail is moving through the valleys and through the mountains. And it's just fascinating to see what this terrain looks like. Look at this, right? So this is the Evolution Valley. This is the Evolution Lake. Now here it's showing that it's all snowed up. Of course, when we did the trek, it was in August, so there was no snow. But I believe that Google Earth must have taken these pictures at the time when there was snow in this area. So let's ignore that. Let's just focus on just the actual geography of this entire area and the trails. So again, this is LeConte Canyons. I believe this is right after the Muir Pass. So we should see the Muir Pass somewhere here. I believe that's probably the Muir Pass right here. Maybe wrong, but I believe that's where it is. And then we can continue on, and let's take a look at this one right here. Zoom in a little bit, and this is the Palisade Creek and the Palisade Lakes. And this was another beautiful area where we camped. I don't know why the lines are flickering when I zoom in. This is the Mather Pass. I think many of you will remember that if you have done the JMT. So again, let's take a look at the 3D view. And again, you can see how that trail goes through the lowest possible point. When you're climbing the mountain, it does not look like that it's the easiest route. But when you look at this view, you can really appreciate that, yes, this was indeed the easiest possible way to cross it. It was hard, but still, it was the easiest possible path. So let's continue down here. And you can see Lake Marjorie. This is another place where we had camped as well. I think this was day 14. From here, we crossed the Princho Pass, which is another high pass, right? Again, let's take a look at the Princho Pass right here. It's pretty fascinating to see that. And then let me go back to the north-south orientation. And from here, we are going to Woods Creek. So this is the Woods Creek area, and this is where we camped. And then from Woods Creek, we continued on to Middle Ray Lake. So let's take a look at that. That was such a beautiful area. And we saw a lot of people who were just doing section hikes or day hikes to these Ray Lakes. So you can see that this is how the path goes. And this is the isthmus that's between the middle and the upper Ray Lake. So this is where we camped. It was just an amazing campsite. And from there, I'm sure you will remember the Glen Pass. So let's take a look at that as well. Zoom in a little bit. So this is our Glen Pass right here. Again, you can see that these walls almost look vertical when you're climbing, right? It's hard to imagine when you're close to that mountain pass. It's really hard to even imagine how you're going to climb that. But then you see how those switchbacks have been created, and those switchbacks come into view, and suddenly the trail looks a lot more manageable. So again, hats off to the trail engineers who created this trail, and they have to continue to maintain these trails. So again, you can see that we are going around this mountain now and continuing on, going to Bubs Creek, and I believe now we are getting close to the Forester Pass. Yep, right here. So this is the Forester Pass, and once again you can see that is the lowest point where we could have crossed it. Right, so Forester Pass was what, 13,000 feet, and you can see that although it was an extremely hard climb, it would have been much harder if they had, created the trail so that we are going over the higher point and not this low point here. So let's continue down from the Forester Pass and see where we go next. So we're getting pretty close now. I believe we should be, that's the Tyndall Creek. We'll go past Bubs Creek, and this is where we camped. This was a beautiful campsite. So that's the Wright Creek, Wallace Creek, Crabtree Ranger Station. This is where you get your bags before you enter the Whitney zone. And then this is the Guitar Lake. So let's take a look at that. It's called the Guitar Lake for a good reason. You can see the shape is indeed like a guitar. So whoever named it was named it very aptly. And this is what I found very fascinating. So we could kind of see that the Mount Whitney is somewhere here behind this mountain. Uh, but we weren't quite sure exactly what that trail looks like. So now you can see this. So we went up from Guitar Lake to the trail crest. This is where we left our backpacks and we took a day pack, went up to Mount Whitney. So this is how the trail goes. Again, I don't know why it keeps flickering. And then we came back here, and this is how you go down towards Whitney Portal. Right? And here we should be able to see those infamous 99 switchbacks right here. I'm not going to count these, but I'll take the word of other people who may have counted this, that these are indeed 99. But this is how you climb down Mount Whitney, and then you get to the Whitney Portal Campground, which is somewhere here. Let me go back to the correct orientation. So this is the Whitney Portal Campground, and this is where we ended our trek. And from here we got a shuttle to Lone Pine. So the town of Lone Pine is in fact somewhere here. That's the Lone Pine Campground. And so this is we stayed. This is Lone Pine right here. So this is where we stayed, and then we took our shuttle back to the Bay Area the next day. So this is what the 3D view of JMT looks like. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you've done the John Muir Trail, then it must have brought back some memories, and hopefully you got a better perspective of how you did the trail. And if you have not done the John Muir Trail, hopefully this is going to inspire you to do that trail someday. Thank you.